A number of years ago, George Carlin, the comedian. Anybody remember him? Anybody not remember him? Okay. Because I know the longer I do this, the more people go, what? Who? I was playing Trivial Pursuits with my sisters one day, and they said, what's a Peyton Place? I went, oh, God. I know. So George Carlin, a number of years ago, had some wonderful observations about the process of aging, about getting older. It's so powerful and so wonderful. I just want to share a little bit of what he had to share. He said, do you realize the only time in our lives when we like getting old is when we're kids? If you're less than 10, you're so excited about aging, you think in fractions. How old are you? I'm 4.5. You're never 36.5. You're 4.5 going on 5, that's the key. You get into your teens, now they can't hold you back. You jump to the next number or even a few ahead. How old are you? I'm going to be 16. You could be 13, but hey, you're going to be 16. And then the greatest day of your life, you become 21. Even the words sound like a ceremony. You become 21. But then you turn 30. Ooh, what happened there? It makes you sound like bad milk. He turned, we got to throw him out. You become 21, you turn 30, you push 40, you reach 50, and you make it to 60. You built up so much speed, you hit 70. After that, it's a day-by-day thing. You hit Wednesday. You get into your 80s, and every day is like a complete cycle. You hit lunch. You turn 4:30. You reach bedtime. In your 90s, you start going backwards. I was just 92. Then a strange thing happens. If you make it to 100, you become a little kid again. I'm 100.5. I love that. That's so true. Time is such a mystery, and yet it presents itself nonstop. All day, every day. Can't get away from it. Clocks are always telling us everywhere what time it is. Alarm clocks get us up. Thank God. If not, we'd be doing this in my living room. You'd be on my couch. I'd be in my robe with a cup of coffee doing this. Our work tells us when to get there and when to leave. The buses now tell us when they're going to be coming or how long it's going to take to get to where we're going. In New York now, the subways, it says 2 minutes till your train. Everybody's staring at the clock. It's 1 minute now. Oh, I think I can hear it rumbling. Everything is clock, time. How much time does it take to drive home? It shouldn't take this long. We know what time our favorite shows are on. I still have an inner clock that tells me Downton Abbey should be on at 9 o'clock. And it's not. And yet time is also illusionary. The 12 years from the first grade to the 12th are the longest years of our lives. 6 years old to 18 is like three lifetimes in our lives. For me, 1961 to 1973 was the longest period of time ever. But then the 12 years, same 12 years between 2004 and 2016 were what, 3 years? They went by so quickly. How did that happen? Remember 2000 Y2K? Y2K! The clocks are going to blow the planet up. The most challenging experiences drag on forever, and the most wonderful times of our lives seem to be over so quickly. Someone said kissing a beautiful woman for an hour seems like 5 seconds. And 5 seconds of burning your hand on a stove seems like an hour. Those 20 years with the person you love the most was over in what felt like 2 years. Maybe they made transition or they left your life in some way. And that 2-year relationship with you-know-who was, oh my God, at least 40. Years ago when Congress was debating daylight savings time, as an option for businesses to stay open because there was more light, they thought this would be really great for business here in this country. Well, when they were having meetings about it, a senator from the Deep South said that we shouldn't be messing around with God's time. That God set the time and it's a sin to change it. But time is a planetary conceit, not a divine attribute. Time is a linear awareness of consecutive consciousness. This happened, that happened, that happened. One episode after another. Although life is really not that way, is it? No, everything's happening at once. Everything's unfolding. It's like a flower. A flower doesn't do one petal at a time, and then I'm going to grow a leaf here, then I'm going to grow a little bit here. No, everything unfolds at once. In fact, in discussing reincarnation, I'm often asked, how come I can't remember other lifetimes? I'm a divine being having a human adventure. I need to manage my time, so if I've done this before, how come I can't remember it? Well, let me ask you, can you remember what you had for lunch October 3rd, 1987? Can you remember last October 3rd? What were you doing March 8th, 2004 after dinner? What were you working on in the third grade for the Easter concert? Can you recall what you got for Christmas 3 years ago? Unless it was really special or unusual, probably not. We remember snapshot moments. For me, it's like a GIF. You know those little 5-second pictures you see online sometimes? Like, oh yeah, I see that in my memory and that much. Or I see a snapshot of where I was in this holiday or in school. We don't have the linear thing quite often. I've shared the story before about I think it was last week or the week before, about the 4-year-old looking at his baby sister in the crib and saying, quick, tell me about God, I'm beginning to forget. When we're babies, when we're children, we remember everything. It's all here, but then it's beaten out of us in some way or other. So if I can't remember 2005, how am I going to recall 1745? We can't. We can't, because we're here focusing on what we need to do right here and now. What we do keep from every lifetime we've ever had is lessons, is soul, impressions, is the gift of the lesson that we learned that we're now applying here. But as with this life, it's not the calendar or the clock that's important, it's what we do with the time that we have that's the issue. That's the most important thing to remember. Even though we may not remember a certain year in particular, we do remember that when we were young and starting out our lives as new adults, everything and anything was possible. There's a wonderful line from the Stephen Sondheim musical Follies. Everything was possible and nothing made sense. Didn't matter because I could do it. Didn't matter what anybody told me. My first day as a freshman as a musical theater major at the Boston Conservatory of Music, our teacher said, only 5 of you of the 100 of you will make a living in this profession. I was grateful. There are actually about 12 of us, 12 people that I know are working in the theater, on television, and movies. So we beat the odds there by double. And I did this for over 20, 30 years myself. So I was grateful to be able to work in something that I absolutely loved and adored. But a lot of people say that is no longer possible. I can't do this anymore. What my dream was at 20 or 19, I can't possibly do that anymore. I know too much. I'm an adult now. I have responsibilities. Dr. Eben Alexander, in his book, The Map of Heaven, says, before my near-death experience, I had those thoughts myself that all was possible. The thrill of living wasn't gone exactly. I loved my family and loved my work, and there were certainly many challenges and adventures lying ahead that I was looking forward to. But at the same time, a kind of inner feeling of expansion, of genuine newness coming at me fast, had stopped. I had, in short, lost hope, for that is what hope is, a sense that something truly good and truly new is on its way right now. So as time passes by, we get a little bit jaded. We may get a little cynical about the possibility of anything new or exciting or unique or life-changing, in a good way, happening for us anymore. I wondered as I read that when I was reading Dr. Alexander's words about the teachings of Jesus. They popped into my mind as I was reading that little bit. And we remember he said, unless you become a child again, you cannot enter into the realm of all good, into what he called the kingdom of heaven, which is within us all the good, the prosperity and the joy and the health and the creativity and all the good we could ever imagine and more coming into our lives. So he said, if you're not that child, you're blocking it. You're not letting it flow forth. And I notice a lot of, as I get older and begin to see people my age and older, I notice a lot more crankiness happening for people. Not here. This is very different, very unusual. But I notice some, a little cranky. Even for Unity people who've known this stuff and read this stuff and memorize this stuff, they can quote me back Fillmore better than I could ever. And still, I hear them outside muttering and complaining and moaning. Once the Sunday experience is done, that's it. Now it's back to real life, and let me call my daughter and tell her exactly how awful it was. Oh dear. What happened to the child that was sitting here for an hour celebrating with us? We've lost the child, and we must retain that child if the good is going to flow forth. Have you noticed that yourself in your family or friends who have gotten older, they seem to have dribbled away the joy a little bit? Have you noticed that your joy has been lost as time seems to go by? In our 30s, our 40s, our 50s, that mid-time life where we begin to look at things, that's when we begin to say, well, it doesn't look like my dreams are really going to happen. I guess I'm going to have to rearrange the good that I'm looking for to match whatever it is that's going on out there. Our power, our joy, our passion, our energy slows way down when we begin to give the power that we have in here to the outer world and what they believe has to happen. Act your age. I don't know how to act that. Since I'm 60, I am acting my age. I'm acting whatever age that I am because this is who I am. They tell us, you should be doing this, you should be being this, you should be acting this way because that's what we do. That's what I say to that in a good Unity kind of way on that. I'm a child of God. I'm a creation of this universe. This just popped into my mind. Eric Butterworth once told me he would never tell his age. And he told me one day his son-in-law, his new son-in-law, because an old son-in-law would not ask this, the new son-in-law says, so, Eric, how old are you? It was like Niagara Falls. Slowly I turned. With Eric Butterworth, he didn't do that. And he said, well, let me answer it this way. I am as young as now and as old as the universe. And his son-in-law said, okay, you're filling out a job application. How old are you? That was the end of that conversation. So there is no age in spirit. Whenever anybody asks you what your age is, your answer is, I'm as young as today and as old as the universe. Because that is none of anybody's business. Your chronological, physical age, you are as young as now. That is the truth of every creation of spirit. But doesn't it seem our parents and grandparents were 70 or 80 when they were like 40? Or 50? They were like, it's like, you're only 40. What's this? Remember last week I told you not to grunt when you got up? People say, I didn't grunt once this week when I got up. That's very exciting. That's just, the child of God leaps out of the chair, gently. We don't want to hurt ourselves. But we are eternal spiritual beings. Eternal spiritual beings within us do not grow old. We do not get less curious. We don't become uncreative. We don't shrivel up and die unless we choose to. Unless we believe this is your age. My God, you're 90. What? What's wrong with you? Why are you sitting there looking so healthy and happy? Yeah, it's because you know the truth. You know the truth of your spiritual being, and we let it shine forth. So we do not grow old. We ripen. That's my word for this process. We ripen. You know, fruit gets sweeter as it gets older. A little mushier, certainly. But we get sweeter as we get. There was a woman, you may have heard the story, a woman goes to the doctor. She's in her 90s, and she's having trouble with her knee. She's sitting there, and the doctor says, well, the trouble with your knee is you're getting old. And she said, that's ridiculous. My other knee is just as old and is fine. By rights, both knees should be going because that knee is the same age. So it's ridiculous to say this is the result of aging when they should be both going. Right? Oh my gosh. Yes, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Just checking once in a while, make sure you're still here and not meditating within. Okay. So our culture may not fully embrace the wisdom and experience that we have the longer that we're here, but we don't live for the culture. We don't live for other people. Olivia de Havilland is living proof of that. She's just doing what she wants to do. 100, please, who cares? Doesn't matter. We live to experience the fullness of God's creative good every single day. So the riper we get, the more interesting, the more creative, the more attractive, wise, loving, understanding, relaxed, thoughtful, funny, insightful, spiritual, and hotter we become. Now, as my friend said, sometimes the hotter is in flashes, but, that's fine too. Now, if you're 19, 20, if you're under 30, just know it gets better. It really does. Sometimes you look and go, gosh, I don't know, but it really does. You get more relaxed. You just begin to say, things are important and other things, please. These are not important if they once were. Doesn't matter anymore. Dr. Alexander, who actually died and went to the other side and came back to tell the story in Proof of Heaven, which we have a few copies in the bookstore, actually. It's an amazing story, especially at the end. He has a real shocker at the very end, which is so powerful. He wrote, we have to relearn how to see this world in the light of heaven. We must allow everything around us to shine forth with the utter individuality, uniqueness, and value that every sparrow, every blade of grass, every person you know has, because each of those is a multidimensional cosmic being manifesting right here and right now. We are in the midst of the most significant leap in human understanding in history. We are about to rediscover the other side of life, a side that a very deep, very hidden part of us never forgot to begin with, but that most of us kept secret from ourselves because our culture told us to. So what is that other side of life he's talking about? That's the eternal side that we are within. It's the passionate side, the fun side, the joyful side, the loving side, the allness of spirit, always available right here, right now. So time is really nothing but a tool that we have to manage that. Time released, if you will. That helps us to get the lessons that we need to move forward with our lives the way that we would like to have them lived. But that doesn't stop us from having the best life possible unless we use that as an excuse not to be in our joy. The great leap of understanding here is a spiritual one that says, I'm divine, I'm sacred, I'm powerful, and I have that power to heal from whatever the experts say is impossible at your age. Oh, that knee is about age. Please. Not true. To prosper when it seems like there's not enough good to go around. I have to go within and know that I live, move, and have my being in an abundant universe. That I'm not left out of it, I'm a part of it, but I have to agree to that. That I'm old enough to be employed no matter what. They say, oh, they won't hire you because of your age. Then fine, I don't want to work for them. I'll work where I'm appreciated and loved. Some say, you're too old to have love. That's ridiculous. That life has passed me by. I can never have anything exciting happen for me ever again. I'm just too old for that. It's not the truth of a child of God. You are an ageless being of joy, but only when you know that can you access that power. It doesn't matter how old you are by the number, or how young you are, for that matter, how limited your situation may seem to be at the moment. That has nothing to do with God's ability within you to come forth. You choose your life, and I choose my life, and then life agrees with you. Whatever you're telling life, it agrees with you. Life is terrible, it's hard, I'm getting older, and I can't do it anymore. And the universe says, okay. Doesn't have to be that way, but it's up to you. You call it. Or life is a joyful adventure, I'm a child again. Oh, the universe says, thank God you know that. Isn't that exciting? Let's go on. Let's move on. Let's do it. I counseled a woman years ago who had the smallest voice I ever heard. I had to lean into her to really hear what she was saying. And with my hearing impairment, I wear hearing aids. That made comprehension really difficult because I just had no idea what she was saying. I got so frustrated, I just want to say, would you please speak up? You have a voice, use it. She shared with me one day at a retreat that she was in a concentration camp as a child and was not allowed to talk. See, you never know anybody's story. We never know why anybody is like they are. We just have to know that they're on a journey just like all of us. We all carry within us something. But coming here to Unity helps us to lighten it, to know that what I'm carrying is okay. We're all carrying something that we're learning. It's a great teacher. So she realized and recognized that as a teacher for her. I had her affirm and to recondition herself to remember, I have a voice, and what I say matters. I have a voice, and what I say matters. Let's affirm that together. I have a voice, and what I say matters. Now I just want women to affirm that. Together? I have a voice, and what I say matters. Amen. Amen. I know it's hard for women sometimes in our culture to affirm that because we've been taught not to, that your voice perhaps does not matter. I know women in my family were taught, be quiet. But we have to turn that around and know that no matter who you are a child of God and your voice does matter, and it matters that you're here on the planet. Well, she affirmed that for quite a while. It wasn't easy for her. The first time she said it, I couldn't hear her. I said, you got to do better. Speak up. And she began to do that. Within a year, I didn't have to ask her to speak up. She was still rather quiet, but now she had a very clear voice. I could hear it across the room. She began to own her divine power no matter what she was taught as a child. You have the power in you right now to have a great life at this very moment, whether you're 19, 99, or 109. Doesn't matter. Speak your truth and your intention clearly, and the universe and all the atoms around you will react to that and bring forth what you need. Everything you need right now is right here, right now. Health, money, success, a loving mate, a nice home, peace of mind, freedom from addiction, depression, whatever it is you're going through, there's an answer. Open yourself up and stop saying, this is the way it has to be, because it doesn't. Take a breath.